Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Sonnet, the owner and creator behind Sonnet's Garden Blooms, and in today's video, we are going to be transforming 3 suitcases with 3 different pieces of Roycycled paper. So stick around and I can't wait to show you the 3 transformations. If you've been following along, you'll know that I found these 3 suitcases for my 40/40 challenge. If you haven't seen that video yet, it's a few back. My membership group, we are doing a challenge where we had to spend $40 and we have 40 days to sell the items that we picked for $40. So today, let's get a flippin' these suitcases. When I saw this at the thrift store, I absolutely fell in love with the color of it, and I knew right away what I wanted to do with it. In the past, I had actually picked another suitcase the same shape, but it was white, and I actually used the Owl Roycycled Decoupage paper on that suitcase, and it turned out so beautiful. I then ended up painting it from white to the same exact color of, it's like, I used, I think, Mermaid Tail by DIY, and it was a perfect fit. For today, what we're going to do is we're taking White Swan from DIY Paint and we're going to apply 2 even coats of the White Swan here. This really makes your paper pop. Yes, you do not need to apply white underneath if you want a more muted look to your flip, but I really want all those vibrant colors in that owl paper to pop. So this is going to do that. We're gonna let this dry very thoroughly and then we're going to come back and apply the paper. This is going to be such a simple flip and it's going to completely transform the look of this suitcase. Now it's time to apply the paper, and if you've watched this before, I do it the same exact way, and this really prevents a lot of wrinkles and makes your paper go on so easy. So I lay out where I want the decoupage paper. I do use liquid patina. That is definitely my go-to medium for decoupaging with the Roycycled paper. And then I do a starter strip. So I just apply an even coat just on the very top to start the decoupaging. Once I have a nice even layer of the medium, I smooth it all out, and then I take my paintbrush and I just smooth out any of the wrinkles. And then from there, I just lifted the bottom of the decoupage paper up, and I just start working in sections all the way down. And honestly, this is what I have found to be the most effective way to prevent wrinkles and to just make your paper go on completely smooth. Now, the one thing I really loved about this suitcase is that it did have almost like, I don't know how to describe it, like a pattern on the suitcase, and you could see that underneath. Once I was putting on the paper, when it all dried, you could actually see that pattern of the actual suitcase coming through, and it really was a cool effect underneath the decoupage paper. Now I'm going to let this dry very thoroughly and then come back with some sandpaper, and we're going to sand the edges to get rid of any of this excess paper. Now, I typically like to use a sanding block. I don't have any at the moment. I do have just some regular low grit sandpaper, and I'm just rubbing in a downward motion, not the upward, because if you do it upward, you could possibly pull the paper off your project. So I'm going around and I am going to just, like I said, in that downward motion, take away any of the excess paper. And then after that, I am going to seal it one last time. And I always just make sure all the edges are completely sealed and just give it one more coat of liquid patina, and this project will be complete. For our next suitcase, this baby caught my eye because of the faux snakeskin, and I loved the handle. It was like a clear handle and the hardware on it was absolutely stunning. I didn't want to do a lot to this. Actually, I at first was going to leave as is, but then I remembered I had this newer paper from Roycycled, and it is called Ephemeral Burlap. And it comes with two different images, and it's like a burlap paper. There's one side that has like a black print, and then the other side has a white print. And I thought that would be perfect on the top. Now, I did want to wipe this down really thoroughly. It was a bit dirty from being in the bins, and I cleaned it all up, and it looked like $1,000,000 after I did that. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to show you that paper. Here it is, guys. Now, this is the side I'm thinking about putting on the suitcase, and then this side I'm going to use for a different project. I love the writing on here, so that is what I'm going to be putting on the suitcase. I'm going to line it up exactly how I want it, and I want a little bit of that black floral on each side as well. And I'm going to cut off any of the excess, and I'm going to save it for a different project. Now, keep in mind, always hold your scraps, guys. I always keep any of my unused decoupage paper, and I have a little supply of it because I work with a lot of smalls, and I can always pull out that excess and use it on something else. Now for this, I lined it all up and I figured out where I wanted to have that wording and both of that like floral on each side. And again, I'm using liquid patina, and I am going to do a starter strip just like I had in the past. And I am starting on one end and I am working my way down. And again, I like the look of this like faux snakeskin, and it kind of comes through the decoupage paper, so you can kind of see that snakeskinny look to it. And on this one, I am not painting it white under there. I want it to be more like it was part of this suitcase, so I'm letting that black just kind of pop through and just really make this look like it's part of it. If you haven't decoupaged yet, it is so easy, you guys, and like I said, just do your starter strip and then work your way down and let it dry very thoroughly. And then now on this one, I am not going to use a sanding block or sandpaper to get rid of the excess. We are going to use a paintbrush and water, and I'm going to show you another technique. Now that it's completely dry, and you can see like the color difference, see how on the edges where it is not having that black underneath, it is definitely a different color. I really like the look of the paper now. It looks really aged and worn like the suitcase. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just taking a paintbrush and I am taking water, and I am just doing a strip of water. I'm just wiping it along the edge, and then once that gets damp or wet, that decoupage paper is very tearable, and in a downward motion I am just going to tear, and it blends so much better when you tear the decoupage paper versus having a real clean cut. Because there was not real like a straight edge on any side of this, I wanted it to be more jaggedy, and that's what I'm doing around the entire perimeter of the suitcase. Now that I have that done, I want to make sure that the edges are completely secured to my suitcase. So I'm going around and I'm lifting up any of the edges that need to have decoupage underneath, which is the liquid patina, that medium, and then applying it another even coat over the entire piece and along all the edges. For the final suitcase, I honestly did not know what I wanted to do with this. I had thought about putting a stencil on it, and then I remembered about the dragonflies. If you guys have not yet used this decoupage paper, you're missing out. It is absolutely beautiful, and that is what I decided to use on the top. I wanted some wording, and I wanted a couple dragonflies on here, and that top dragonfly with that blue iris color really inspired the rest of this transformation. I am going to do a blending technique with blue iris and water lily, and you're gonna see this suitcase totally transform. For starters, what I'm doing is I am going to line up where I want the actual decoupage paper to lay, and then there is a little tiny like divot around the entire perimeter, and I am just taking my finger and I'm rubbing it to make an indentation where that is, so then I can take my scissors and just cut a little bit beyond that. Now I do want this paper to completely pop, and I know it does have like a whitish background. I still want to apply one even coat. Actually, I think I did like 1.5. There were just a couple areas that needed a second coat, and I wanted it to be nice and even. So again, I used White Swan by DIY, and I applied just a nice even coat over the entire suitcase. And then we're gonna apply the decoupage paper. Now I'm lining it all up, and I am going to do the exact same thing that I did with the other two suitcases. Roll back, do a starter strip, and then apply the entire decoupage paper to the top. The only differences with this one, there were a couple really cool different pieces, like just different prints in the other scrap paper that I cut off. So after I get this piece down, I am going to then apply those. There was this round piece that I thought was really fun. So I'm just applying a little bit of the liquid patina on the back side of this, and I just enough to be able to put it down. And I'm going to put it in that area where there's not a lot of writing. And then after I lay it down, I'm just going to again apply an even coat of liquid patina over the top of that. I then have this other like oval piece that was part of that paper as well. And I loved this piece because it had that blue iris in it. And I thought that that would bring out that blue iris in the other two dragonflies. So again, applying a little bit to the back, laying it down, and then I came up with another idea after I laid this down. There was one more dragonfly left on that paper, and in the end, I decided to cut that out and apply that as well. So here I have completely cut it out, and I want to lay it just on the very bottom of that oval piece. And the tail, I kind of cut it off a little bit, so I'm going to have that tuck right in to the very base of the suitcase, and then lay it down, and again just apply some liquid patina under it and then over it. And I think it just really ties this whole suitcase together. Now I'm using the new paintbrush by DIY called the Smoothie and the Little Dipper. And I should mention, you guys, all the products that I'm using in today's video, you can find on my website at www.sonnetsgardenblooms.com. I will have all of that information too in the description below. So for starters, I am going to paint the entire suitcase blue iris from DIY. And this is not a color I've used before. I cannot believe it. The only time I've used it is when I painted my round circles for all my paint colors. And this has been a hot seller lately. And I'm like, I am going to use it. And so that's why when I saw those dragonflies, I thought, what a perfect opportunity to break this out. And then we're going to blend in water lily just to give it a little dimension. Now I started on the very back side. Everything is completely dry, and I again break out two colors, which is the blue iris and the water lily, and I am going to just apply the blue iris around the perimeter and then water lily in the middle. And I do need my misting bottle. Anytime you blend, it's a good idea to have your misting bottle as well, and just mist the entire area after you've applied both colors, and then you just start blending them together, and it just gives a different look to your piece. You definitely have different colors. It just gives it definitely a almost like a texture. I love it. And then I go to the sides and I start with one side, and again, I use blue iris. I put a little blue iris on the top and on the bottom, apply a little bit of the water lily in the middle, again, mist it, and then I just blend it together just to give it a little bit of color, just a color contrast. And I absolutely am loving blending and just giving, like I said, a little bit more dimension to your piece rather than just one solid color. And I do that to all the sides. I just go and apply a little bit of the blue iris on the top and the bottom, and then again some water lily and mist it, and then again blend it together. And I am loving this. I cannot wait to show you the finished product. Now that it's completely dry, I am taking Big Top from DIY and I am sealing the entire piece. Anytime you're using DIY paint, because you are able to blend it, it can be reactivated with water. After you paint your project, you do need to seal it with some type of top coat, whether that be Big Top, poly, wax. It just needs to be sealed. And that is what I'm doing here, applying one even layer to the entire piece, letting it dry, and then now I get to show you what this looks like. What did you guys think? I absolutely loved all three suitcases. They are completely different. I cannot wait to get those in my booths. I do need to flip a few more items for the 40/40 challenge and get that all in my booth as soon as possible. So we do have, once we spent the $40, we allotted 2 weeks to flip and price the items and get them in our booth. And then that's when the 40 days officially starts. So I really don't want to win because I want one of my members to win. But I'm a bit competitive, so I still want to get my items in there and see what I can sell as well. So I'm excited about that. Friday's video, it may be the 40/40 challenge video with the rest of the flips. Otherwise, I think I might go thrifting. It's been a bit and I am itching to see what I can find. So we'll see what happens. It might be a thrift haul. It might be a thrift flip. I just don't know yet. Well, you guys have yourselves a great week and we will see you Friday. Bye.